How do you freak your family out when you're on a ghost tour when you are an intuitive healer and a medium? Meaning, I see, feel, and know things that I guess many people don't know, and I can see dead people. So, we visited Charleston recently. I posted some videos about that. And I have done retreats to Charleston where I tell people what I see and we do some healing and some writing. I've gone on book tours down there for like different events, for like Y'all Fest. And there are just places in the city that are intense. Overall, obviously, Charleston is very rich in history, and the history is diverse and it includes lots of war, the citadel, slavery, slave trade, disease. I mean, it's super heavy for me. So I went there very protected, did a lot of grounding. We stopped by the Angel Oak, and for me, the Angel Oak is there to basically raise the vibration of all the horrible things and whatnot. Anyway, so we went on 2 ghost tours. My teenager is curious if she has any of my gifts, and she wanted to know what I could see and feel, and if she did too. And the first tour we did was a cemetery tour, and I definitely felt things watching us from the trees. I don't know that they were necessarily like dead people, because dead people and entities, energies feel different to me. When I'm around like ghosts, I get a really bad headache and I get super dizzy. Like, you know, the feeling when you get a head rush when you stand up, you don't really feel your body and you're dizzy. That's what a lot of dead people do to me. So I definitely have that when I first arrive in town, and then I try to balance out. And our ghost tour guide was giving us some stories, and I didn't exactly feel everything that she was saying, but I also didn't want to naysay her at the same time, because that's just freaking rude. I don't want to do that. She's doing her job. She told us stories about a woman whose ashes were supposed to be in a bottle, but I didn't feel those at all. And we visited the same spot the next day during the day, and I didn't feel really anything all that sad there. It used to be an armory. I think I have a picture. I'll put the name of the place here while I edit. Anyway, so we are in the circular graveyard, and the guide is like, come stand over here, and I refused to go stand over there. And she was like, oh, I was like, everyone else in the group goes over there, including my daughter. And I was like, yeah. She's like, are you coming over here? I go, no, I will not stand on that ground. And basically she called it, get ready, a corpse lasagna, that it was a mass grave, and it's like thousands and thousands of dead people. Yeah, I don't want to stand on top of that. That's super depressing. I did see a woman. I guess there's a story of a crazy woman, or a woman allegedly looking for her children who died before her, who were put in this grave. But I saw her dressed in black with like a gray kind of shawl, very disheveled. Basically, she wants to crawl back into where everyone she knows is. Like, that's how I see her. And I saw her as a person who wasn't quite sane. But her story there is also a little different. I don't want to really ruin them in case you go to Charleston and do a bulldog tour. It was quite fun. The next one we did was at the jail, which was weird. It starts at 10 o'clock at night, so it's winter, it's freezing and dark. And we have to walk there, so we're walking through the neighborhoods, and you know you're going to a haunted jail, so obviously you're like, ah, the whole time. And then, so what I didn't expect is that they're renovating the building, the original jail, and they're making it like offices and places for people to live. Like, I would never live in that space. Anyway, we're walking through and we're in the basement, and you definitely feel things, right? Like, people were tortured and people were just abused in these places. I just think there's no really good way to say it's a, 1600s jail to almost modern times. I think they closed it up in the early 1900s, if I got that correct. Anyway, no heat, no air. I mean, it's just awful. So what I don't know is, because I'm trying to be centered and grounded and not connect to the negative energy, because there is some dark shit around there. There's like stuff I don't mess with. And if I don't mess with dark energy, and when it attaches to you, it's really hard to get off. So anyway, I guess I'm being really quiet. I don't guess. I know I'm being super quiet because my daughter and my husband are both like freaked out by me. I didn't know that they were being freaked out by me. And that's because I wasn't saying anything, because in my head, I was basically praying to keep the negative stuff that I was kind of feeling away from me. Again, I don't want to really ruin the ghost tour, but the gentleman leading it was like, come into this room, and I wouldn't go into the room, because for me, what I saw looking into the room was basically like, you know, those images of hell where like bodies and people are like crawling on top of each other kind of thing. Well, that's what I saw in the room. So there's no way I would walk in on it. And he was telling stories that people saw a girl in there, or there was like a very old wooden wheelchair. And that sometimes it moves, but I just like really saw that as a device of torture for people. So like I was not going in that room, and I just stayed where I was. And then we go into the next room, and he says it's really cold. Like the room gets really cold. And like think horror movie, like you know something bad's around you because smoke is coming out of your mouth, right? Or a ghost. And he starts telling stories of what happens in there. And then he looked at me and he goes, I'm really surprised that you're in here, which just made me double down on protecting myself. And he talked about like seeing people seeing demons in there. And I'm like, you know, don't say their name. Like, don't say the name 3 times. We've seen enough, and we've like learned enough that we don't say the name of terrible things. And he's saying the names, and I'm just protecting myself some more and ignoring the darker energy. And I was just like, no. I mean, this place is sad and depressing, and people had tortured lives there because the conditions alone were brutal. Okay, so while we leave, my family's like, why were you so quiet? What was going on with you? I was like, I was just trying to let you enjoy the tour. They're like, no, I don't think you understand what your face looked like, that you didn't say anything, you weren't joking or smiling at all, and you freaked us out. And so I guess that's how you freak out your family when you're a psychic, intuitive, and medium on a ghost tour. You stay quiet and do prayers to protect each other, myself and them. Of course, I cleared our energy before we went back into like our hotel and made sure nothing came home with us. But I thought that was pretty funny. If you have questions about the difference between a ghost and spirits or guides, and or you're curious about ghost tours or those experiences I had, you know, feel free to pop in a question.